Where am I?
You don't know where you are?
No.
You're in Bulgaria.
No, no, no.
Welcome to Bulgaria. No, not that Bulgaria. This Bulgaria. A country known for its vast history, roses, yogurt, and internet nationalists who have a brain aneurysm at even the slightest mention of this country. It is located in the Eastern Balkans, bordering 5 other countries: Romania to the north, Serbia and North Macedonia to the west, and Greece and Turkey to its south, with all of whom it has the absolute best of relations. We are The country has a population of around 6.8 million, which has been on a faster declining slope than Gen Z's mental health.
It's a mental breakdown.
As the country loses around 50,000 people annually. Despite being a small nation, Bulgaria's history is anything but, seeing that Bulgaria is old as shit. The earliest evidence of hominids existing here date back to 1.4 million years ago. In the town of Stara Zagora, some of the oldest man-made structures ever found can be found dating to 6000 BC. The oldest known town in Europe, Solnicata, established over 6,000 years ago, also calls this country home. By 800 BC, most of Bulgaria was under the Thracian state. The Thracians were a mysterious group of people whose origin and cultural practices are still largely unknown, despite their outsized cultural footprint. Either way, despite the tribe's disunity, lack of any sort of proper script, and preference to rural living over commie blocks, unlike today's Bulgarians, they greatly influenced and intermingled with the Greeks and Romans. However, due to its geographic position, the country was left wide open to more simultaneous attacks and invasions on multiple fronts than a Hungarian star.
Okay, kész vagyok. Kaptak!
As the Persians, Celts, ancient Macedonians, Romans, Goths, Huns, and perhaps most crucially, the South Slavs invaded Bulgaria. The South Slavs assimilated with local Thracians and peacefully enjoyed their farms and rural lifestyles until the 6th century, when the arrival of the Bulgars, a semi-nomadic Turkic tribe originally from Central Asia, turned the entire place upside down, as they formed the First Bulgarian Empire. Unlike most overlords, rather than impose their language and culture, the Bulgars quickly adopted the language and culture of the Slavs, which then made Bulgaria the spiritual, economic, and cultural home of the South Slavic tribes. In the middle of the 9th century, Bulgaria converted to Christianity as Tsar Boris became baptized. Soon after, under his orders, the Cyrillic alphabet was born and spread across his realm. Bulgaria remained a dominant powerhouse in the region up until the 14th century, when the Ottomans succeeded in making Bulgaria their vassal state. Under them, Bulgarians suffered brutal oppression and suppression for the next 500 years, until the April Uprising 1876, when Bulgaria, with the help of Russia, won its independence. This, however, wasn't the end of Turkish influence in Bulgaria. Despite the fact that very little Ottoman architecture or even mosques still exist in modern Bulgaria, there's still a good 500,000 Bulgarians of Turkish descent, forming nearly 10% of the country's population and forming its largest ethnic minority. After the brutal Ottoman ass-kicking in 1878, the Treaty of St. Stefano created a greater Bulgarian state, which included large territories of Thrace and Macedonia. The Western powers, worried that Russia was using this as an opportunity to increase its influence in the Balkans, stepped in and redid the borders, separating them from their precious Macedonia. In the beginning of the 20th century, Bulgaria, still pissed off at the Ottomans, joined in with Greece, Serbia, and Montenegro to kick the Ottomans' ass.
I'm a little bit scared because, man, you are big and you have X. Šta je mamut jebem?
I don't know.
Di si bio 91.
I don't know. Am I in danger?
However, Bulgaria may have let the victory get to its head, and being pissed at not receiving more spoils of war, specifically Macedonia, decided to declare war on its previous allies of Greece, Serbia, and Montenegro, which then ended up in Bulgaria getting an ass-kicking of a lifetime, with even Romania joining in on the fun, and Bulgaria relinquishing territory. Several years later, spited over getting its ass kicked, Bulgaria declared war on Serbia as the country was getting double penetrated by the German Dream Team. While there were victories and some land acquired, and Bulgaria was able to hold its precious Macedonia in their hands once more, the victory was fleeting, and once the war ended, they had to give Macedonia back. Germany knew that dangling the morsel of the return of southern Dobruja from Romania was a winning bet, and Bulgaria, having not yet learned a single lesson on the dangers of territorial greediness, signed the Tripartite Pact in 1941, and once more decided to invade Yugoslavia in an effort to once more retake Macedonia.
Just stop! Just stop it! Stop! No! Just stop it!
This ended up precisely as you imagine. Nevertheless, the country was able to rid itself of its teenage angst in 1990 and then joined the EU in 2007.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch. Herzlichen Glückwunsch. Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
But to truly understand the country and its history, there is no better way than to visit the country itself. But before that, I just dropped some merch. We got 4 hella dope designs of your favorite countries: Romania, Hungary, Serbia, and Elizabeth herself. And we got more coming soon. So go to theironicshop.com and get your own unironic drip today. So to start off our journey, we're going to head on to Bulgaria's Black Sea coast and enter the city of Varna. Varna, known today as the country's 3rd largest city, has been an important cultural and economic center for nearly 3,000 years. Some of the oldest gold treasure in the world was found near the city. Varna is also famous for the Battle of Varna, where Ladislaus III of Poland's army of about 30,000 crusaders was defeated by the larger Ottoman force of 60,000 led by Sultan Murad II. Ladislaus was killed, and this failure all but guaranteed the fall of Constantinople in 1453 to the Ottomans, and thus Bulgaria was doomed to another 4 centuries of Ottoman rule. Oh, also, for 7 years in 1949, Joseph Stalin renamed it to just Stalin for whatever reason. When it comes to the modern day city itself, it harbors a population of 335,000 inhabitants and serves as Bulgaria's most important port and vacation destination to many, with numerous resorts and commercial districts throughout the city. Walking down the coast, you can find pristine sandy beaches with hardly any people, making this place perfect for any beach lover. Up until the late 19th century, Varna was still an Ottoman city, mostly made up of wooden buildings and houses. After its independence, many of these buildings were torn down and replaced with Neo-Renaissance, Neo-Baroque, Neoclassic, and Art Nouveau buildings, alongside, of course, cobbing blocks. Thus, even though it's an ancient city, very few of its old buildings remain. One of the ones remaining, however, is the Cathedral of the Assumption. Today, the 2nd largest place of Christian worship within Bulgaria, the cathedral was built in 1880 as a commemoration to all the Russian soldiers who died in the fight for the liberation of Bulgaria. The Cathedral of Assumption resembles the one in St. Petersburg, as a Russian architect, Mas, used the one in Russia to inspire the large golden domes on top of it. Within the cathedral, you can also find numerous artisan paintings of biblical stories and saints, alongside with other holy relics. Not too far off, you can also find the Roman Thermae, aka the Roman Baths. This huge 7,000 meter squared complex was built all the way back in the 2nd century. Although most of it lies in ruins, it is still possible to get an idea of how the baths looked. The complex consisted of several dressing rooms and assorted hot and cold water pools. The bathing Romans took turns entering the frigid and hot waters during their visit. It is believed that the complex went out of service sometime during the 3rd or 4th century due to exceeding cost and maintenance. Moving on from Varna, we head on 100 kilometers south down the Black Sea coast in the 100 times better and nicer and fourth largest city in Bulgaria, Burgas. Coming from the Latin word Burgos, meaning tower, Burgas is another warm and sunny resort-heavy beach town. Like Varna, it's old as balls, with 3 millennia of history behind it. And like Varna, it was an important Thracian city with many ancient burial sites uncovered. During the Ottoman times, it used to be the second most important Ottoman port in the Black Sea, importing and exporting tons of cereal and grain. However, it wasn't that big of a deal until after it was liberated from the Ottomans by Russian troops in the late 19th century. After its liberation, the city quickly became an important economic and industrial hub, with hundreds of newly constructed public buildings, like libraries, churches, factories, and printing houses spring up throughout the town. After the Second World War, all of the factories within the city became nationalized, which over time led to Burgas's economic decline as output fell due to mismanagement. But hey, at least everyone had a house, am I right? Alongside that, many brutalist buildings and monuments, such as the Regional Court and the Ilyusha Monument, which in no way whatsoever has any homosexual elements at all. Today, Burgas, much like Varna, is best enjoyed as a chill resort town on the coast. Walking through the town, you can find several cute shopping streets with shops offering everything from clothes to souvenirs and of course, coffee and ice cream. Afterwards, you can head to the sandy beach and enjoy the sea summer breeze as you enjoy a cold plate of tarator with a side of shopska salad and finish it up with some good old Bulgarian barbecue. Pushing forward, we head into central Bulgaria and the country's second largest and arguably culturally most important city, Plovdiv. If there's one city that Bulgaria considers its cultural heart, it's Plovdiv. With about 350,000 people, this is yet another ancient city, with evidence of its establishment dating back to 6000 BC, making it potentially the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world, older than Athens and Rome. In the 4th century BC, it was conquered by Philip II of Macedon, who named it Philippopolis after himself. You might know him as the father of the noted North Macedonian Alexander the Great. Apparently, the ancient Greeks knew the town as Honorpolic, or Town of Villains, as Philip II settled the town with 2,000 criminals, vagabonds, and lawyers. By the 1st century, the city was fully incorporated into the Roman Empire and became the central city of the Roman province of Thracia. Thus began the period of rapid growth, which is still obvious today, given the sheer amount of Roman ruins littered all over the city, like the Roman Forum, the Odeon, baths, library, the city walls, aqueducts, basilicas, and treasury. The most famous of the ruins, however, would have to be the ancient stadium and theater of Philippopolis. The stadium today can be found in the heart of modern-day Plovdiv center. Built in the 2nd century, the stadium was one of the largest and most well-preserved buildings from the time period. At its height, it was able to seat over 30,000 spectators at full capacity. Mainly the games organized within the stadium were of athletic character, however, seeing wrestling and boxing matches also wasn't out of the ordinary. As Plovdiv, or Philippopolis as it was known at the time, was a wealthy center of trade, many of its wealthiest residents built lavish mansions meant to show off their status, and many of these are still around, with their frescoes and mosaics still intact. Outside of the myriad of Roman ruins, the highlight of Plovdiv is its lovely old town, which contains many styles of architecture spanning thousands of years and is one of the best places in Bulgaria to see Bulgarian revival architecture. Bulgarian revival, also known as the Bulgarian Renaissance, was a time period during Ottoman occupation that spanned about 100 years, from the mid-18th to the mid-19th century. During this time, Bulgarians, fed up with the Ottoman suppression of their culture, sought to reclaim their autonomy and self-identify their national identity through the encouragement of development of education, literacy, culture, all based on a singular Bulgarian character. One of the ways this desire manifested was through a particular style of architecture known as Bulgarian Revival. While there are regional differences, this style of buildings are characterized by their large size, often with the top level wider than the first floor, and the second or third levels containing long rows of windows to let in plenty of natural light, as well as allowing idle gossip with the passerbys. Often the buildings are brightly colored and adorned with intricate carvings, decorations, and paintings, often the floral motif. The ceilings, doors, and porches will be carved out of wood and can be very detailed. The most famous of the houses found in this area are Balabanov's house, Lamartine house, Netkovich house, and many others, converted into galleries, museums, and cultural centers. It's also worth mentioning that this place isn't full of tourists, so upon visiting, it is very likely that you will have the entire old town to yourself. Within the old town, amongst a variety of colorful revival houses, it is also possible to find several Orthodox churches, dating from the same time period and even before. Standing near the Hisar Kapia gate is one of those churches, the Church of St. Constantine and Helena. Estimated to be built sometime in the 4th century, the Church of St. Constantine and Helena is one of the oldest churches within the city, and possibly even the country. It was named after the great Byzantine Emperor, Constantine, and his mother. After the Ottomans conquered the kingdom, the church was torn down and rebuilt several times. Today's church was established in the 19th century, during the Bulgarian Revival, and, alongside carrying the style typical for the time period, there are also several Baroque elements ordaining the church. Nearby you can also find the Sveta Nedelja church. Originally built in the 17th century, the church was revitalized like many others within town during Bulgaria's revival. Upon its construction, she was intended to be one of the largest revivalist churches in Plovdiv. To achieve this goal, many iconographers and painters across the country were brought in to work on the interior of the temple. Thus, inside, the church ordained with plenty of beautiful icons and frescoes in the authentic reclaimed Bulgarian style. Continuing our journey across Bulgaria, we resume traveling west as we head into Bulgaria's capital and largest city, Sofia. Unsurprisingly, Sofia too is a city with an extensive history, with the first Neolithic settlements found there dating to 6000 BC. Various tribes settled there until Philip II of Macedonia destroyed the town in the 4th century BC. The Romans called it Serdica after the Celtic Serdi tribe that previously inhabited it, and it was the administrative center of the region during Roman times, with 2 emperors born there. It was so important to the Romans that Constantine the Great even considered making it the capital of the Byzantine Empire rather than Constantinople. Alongside that, it was also an important center for Christianity, since it was one of the first Roman cities where Christianity was honored as an official religion, and Emperor Galerius issued the Edict of Toleration in 311, which ended the persecution of Christianity. After Serdica joined the First Bulgarian Empire, it was known as the Serdets and fell to the Byzantine Empire in the 11th century, until it was incorporated into the Second Bulgarian Empire, where it grew to be the most important city in the empire, where the rulers of Sofia, known as the Sebastokrator, was second in power to only the Tsar of Bulgaria. In the 14th century it was renamed Sofia after the Church of Saint Sophia. Shortly after this it was conquered by the Ottoman Empire, and until the defeat of the Ottomans in 1878, Muslims significantly outnumbered Bulgarian Orthodox Christians. After the war, the vast majority of Muslims left before it was even cool. Nearly all evidence of this population, however, such as mosques, have been destroyed and very little Ottoman architecture remains today. Yet still some prevail, like the centrally located Banyabashi Mosque. Originally constructed in the mid-16th century, the Banyabashi Mosque has been a loyal servant of Sofia's Turkish community. Although it might look like a regular mosque, the house of worship was constructed over natural thermal spas. It is even possible to see steam rising out of the vents from the ground by the mosque's walls. This gave the mosque its name, Banyabashi, which in Turkish means head bath. Across the mosque you can also find the Sofia Synagogue, also known as the largest synagogue in the Balkans, and the 3rd largest in Europe. After the Spanish Inquisition, many Jews resettled in the Ottoman Empire and by extent in Sofia. Thus, to meet the demand for the city's significant Jewish population, Sofia opened up the synagogue in the early 20th century. It is also worth mentioning that during World War II, Bulgaria, although implementing several anti-Semitic policies, refused to deport its Jewish population as ordered by Germany. The government at the time claimed it was anti-constitutional and was able to preserve its Jews from a horrible fate. Ironically though, after the communists took over, the country deported most of its German and Russian population without beating an eye to the constitution. So, you know.
Alright, yeah, get him the hell out of here, will you please? Get him out of here. Throw him out!
In the same area, you can also find the Regional History Museum of Sofia. The building of this museum is definitely one of my favorite ones due to its playful revival design. Its bright colors simply radiate light to the mostly grey surroundings. Originally, the museum served as a mineral bathhouse until 1928, when the first permanent exhibition was established. Inside, the exhibitions covered the time period between the 6th century BC and the 20th century AD. South of the museum lies yet another one of Sofia's most important landmarks, the Church of Sveta Nedelja. The church dates all the way back to the 10th century. However, the modern-day temple was constructed in the 18th century due to the previous building sustaining significant damage over the years due to war and conflict. Within the church, the remains of Serbian King Stefan Uroš II Milutin can be found. The remains were taken to Bulgaria as the ruler was able to defeat the Bulgarian Emperor Mikhail Shishman in battle, because of which the church also boasted the name of Sveti Kral, meaning Holy King. In 1925, the church was almost completely destroyed as communist terrorists set off explosives during a service attended by Tsar Boris III. Although there were over 500 injured and 150 dead, the entirety of the royal family survived. Speaking of Tsars, a couple of kilometers east of Sveta Nedelja stands the famous monument to the Tsar Liberator, Russian Tsar Alexander II. On the equestrian statue alongside a depiction of Alexander, you can also find several Russian and Bulgarian soldiers being led into battle by the Greek goddess of victory, Nike. In 1878, Bulgaria again became an independent state after nearly 500 years of Ottoman rule, as the country was freed with the help of Russia during the 10th Russo-Turkish War. Last but not least, we have the crown jewel of Sofia, the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. Easily recognizable with its golden and blue domes, the cathedral was erected in 1924 in a Neo-Byzantine style. As with the previously mentioned monument, Alexander Nevsky commemorates Russia's military contribution to Bulgaria's independence. The cathedral reaches a height of 53 meters and is today the 9th biggest Orthodox church in the world. Thus, the church was named in honor of one of Russia's most beloved princes, Alexander Nevsky. During World War I, the name of the church was changed to the Church of Cyril and Methodius, due to the two countries being on opposite sides of the war. When it comes to the Balkans, Bulgaria might be one of the least visited nations. Yet, with its rich history and cultural heritage, Bulgaria still has plenty to offer. If you're into Roman ruins, Orthodox churches and iconography, or even nature, Bulgaria has a little something for everyone. At first glance, Bulgaria might seem a bit tsundere, with it having a colder exterior. If you put the effort of getting to know this country and its people, it will pay off. It will definitely grow on you over time. So I implore you to go and give this place a chance. You just might be surprised with what you find. As per usual, I wish to thank all my channel members for continually supporting me, and I wish to give special thanks to my Bulgarian friend and meme page admin, CEO of Banica, for helping me in writing this script and providing great memes. So go and check him out on Instagram. If you wish to support the channel and help me produce more awesome videos, become a member like these lovely people: Craig Zeeves, Mickey D, Anthony YouTube, Roland S, Emanuel Donchila, Andrei Sorin Perskiv, Pudel Roz, Remberlads, Jožef Borat, PC Chan, Seal King, Vangelis Gru, Adam Cube, Mati Radu, Raj, Exalted, TD45, Burker1237, Engineer Sivius, Fonkale47, Ottorino Laryngolog, Crackpipe Xander, Kyle Wilcox, Alfredo Jimenez, 4G88, Not Regular, Pavel Andreev, Sword of Seals 33, DMN, Boldea Kalin, A. Thunders, Katerina Frizzoni, AAF5YT, Jan Stasiek, IO, Historically Accurate, Grimo 2, Mura Obda, Ahmed Pepe, The Voices in My Head Say I'm Not Schizophrenic, X-Step, Guilherme Goncalves, Alex Gita, Tyrant Solo, Dagger Animation. My name is Janos and you've watched Living Ironically in Europe.
Hey, why are you